This is about myself, and I have been completed 3 to 4 implementations on the ECP and as well as in the SAP HCM payroll for UK payroll. Okay, this is about myself. Can you just go through yourself, introduction yourself?
I am Samir Govekar. I am the principal consultant at L&T Infotech. I have worked extensively in SAP HCM, payroll time, many countries, employee central, compensation, people analytics, onboarding. I have yet to work on EC payroll. That is why I did my certification, but I did not get any hands-on as of it. So I just wanted to see how it is and what effort it takes to implement EC payroll.
Okay.
Sure. I have total of years of experience in the IT industry, so I have seen a lot of stuff. Okay, so I don't know if somebody else is on the call, but if none, then be a little crisp in your session, because I know a bit of it, but I just want to know how different it is for implementing EC payroll rather than the HCM payroll on premise.
Okay, got it. Sure. Yeah, Viman. We're unable to hear. Hello. Okay, Arun, can you just go through? Okay. Arun, can you just go through yourself? Hi, Arun. Hello. Okay, I think Arun is on mute. Okay, let me go through this. Okay. Let me know once you're able to see my screen. Okay. So we know this is at present the SAP HCM payroll engine. So we maintain all the employees' personal data, organizational data, payroll executions, PCR, schemas, payslip view, functions, operations. This is a current SAP payroll engine where we can hire an employee, we can terminate employee, we can extract the reports, and we can execute the payroll data, we can maintain the master data, everything we can do related to the payroll engine in SAP HCM payroll. For that, we have to do some configuration in the backend, like a company code creation, personal area, sub area, like that. So we have to create our waste types, and we have to create the processing class, accumulation class. This is purely related to your HCM, SAP HCM payroll related data. So once we maintain the data, then we can execute a payroll and we can see the results for the particular employee based on their country specific. This is how the present SAP HCM payroll engine. Okay. Before moving to the, this is how the payroll engine at present. So do you have any questions on this SAP HCM payroll engine at present? I hope you guys have a knowledge on the SAP HCM payroll. Okay, so I know Samir has already informed that he has experience on the SAP HCM payroll. What about Payman and Arun? Okay, so because this is a helpful or additional advantage for the SAP HCM consultants, because this is a advanced version of your SAP HCM payroll. That's the reason the main or if you don't have experience on the SAP payroll SAP HCM, then it won't be a additional advantage or added advantage for your career, because even though it is the ECP is a cloud version, the backend system is SAP HCM only. Let's see how this will work. Okay. Now moving to the next step. So moving to the EC payroll. So before moving to the EC payroll, I just wanted to give some information. In the initial 2000s or 2010 time, SAP HCM was the first system for executing a payroll from the SAP. And now later on, Employee Central comes into picture. Employee Central purpose is to maintain your master data, like a PAOL. So all your personal data information, personal data or personal administration information, like your number, your name, employee ID, your leaves and your work schedule and your organization reporting, everything you can maintain in the EC system. But EC don't have a capability to calculate the payroll. Okay, so and this is how we EC is basically it's a PAOI. Later on they have they have given some additional features like where you can maintain some payroll related information, that is pay components. So you can maintain the pay components. Initially it was implemented or it was delivered only for the PAOM information, personal administration and the organization data. Later on this has been advanced, this has been the capability of the EC has been increased to maintain the payroll related information, work schedule, compensation information, and your time related data and your overtime capturing. So this is how at present in EC. But even though you maintain all the data, EC don't have a capability to do the calculation. Payroll is a plus and minus calculation. What is your gross earnings? What is your net deductions? Maybe it is related to the statutory, maybe it is related to the, and maybe it's related to the normal deductions or regular deductions, one-time deductions. And later on, you can see the gross to net. So net calculation. So this capability is not there in the EC system. And sometimes you want to extract the reports from the based on your payroll execution. That feasibility is also not there in the EC. So indirectly what I'm saying is EC is only for the maintaining the records. EC is only for the maintaining the data. So it won't do any, it don't have a payroll engine capability. What payroll engine capability, if you give a gross income, it will provide you the net income. So it do the calculation based on the backend setup and it will provide you the this is your net pay, this is your bank transfer, this is your claims, like that. That calculation done by the payroll engine. So that plus or minus calculation capability not there in the EC system because it's a cloud version. So we just can maintain a data only in the EC system. Now, only data maintenance is available in the EC system. Okay. So any questions so far? Okay. So moving to the next one. So in SAP payroll engine, we maintain the data in the info types. Info types is nothing but information type. So 0 is related. If you open the 0, it will have some actions information. If you open the 1, organization information. 2 is personal data. 3 is payroll status. Like this, address, work schedules. For each and every information which we stored in the ECP system, SAP payroll engine system. So that will be stored in the info types. So maybe it is payroll related information, maybe it's related to the personal information. So that will be divided into the info types, that is information types. When it comes to EC, the same maintained in the EC as well, but that as we discussed, EC is a system of record sites. So we maintain a data in the portlets. In the EC, it's calling as a portlets. The portlet information example, personal information, job information, compensation. So these are the portlets. So where the portlets is nothing but info types. But in EC, the combination of your SAP payroll info types stored in the EC. So but in a general terminology, portlets is nothing but info types. Example, if I want to see the employee's personal information in a EC, I have to go to EC portlet. Sorry, personal information portlet. I want to see the when is employees, what is the employee's status, what is his work pay structure, what is his work schedule. So these three are different info types in the EC. Sorry, EC, this SAP payroll engine. When it comes to the EC, the employee status, pay structure, work schedule, and his employment type. Employment type is nothing but employee class. Okay, these are all information stored in the job information. But it is a combination of different info types of SAP. But in general terminology, we call it as a portlet. So, but in EC, they have it is a cloud, right? So they have very limited space. So that's the reason combination of info types stored in the one portlet. But when it comes to the SAP payroll, so they have because it's a separate product and it is an on-premise system, they have given n number of options. Like you can extract the report, you can maintain the data separately. I want to see the employee's personal information. Only info type 2 is available. I want to see the recurring payments. Only 14 recurring payments and deductions. I want to see the basic pay. Only info type 8. But when it comes to the EC system, so they have a limited space. So they have clubbed 2 or 3 info types information and stored in the portlets. But that is also portlet and that is also called as the info types. This is how we maintain the data in the EC system. Okay. Next, what is the advanced version of ECP? Before moving to the ECP, I just wanted to help you. So in SAP payroll, once we implement the data, every month we receive a data, right? Every month, once we implement the SAP payroll, on a regular basis, we will get some payroll data based on their cutoff date. New employees will be hired, new employees will be leaving the organization, their basic pay will change, or their recurring payments and deductions or one-time payments, work schedule. These are all gets changed on a payroll to payroll. So sometimes it may not change. For some employees, they may not change. Some employees it will get changed. And when bonus period comes, they process one-time payments as a bonus for all the employees. So this is a recurring or variable pay data. Now I'm in a September payroll. After completing my August payroll, I will get some data related to the September payroll. So I need to consider that data into the SAP. I need to consider that data into the September payroll. For that information, once I get the data. So that means somewhere you have to load the data. Let's example, you don't have a EC system in present. Let's think on the past. So where your EC system don't have any EC system was not implemented that time. Any data you receive, they may be having some Excel information, they may be having some legacy system, or they may be having a data received from the HR managers or employees in a mail. They track all the information and they load the data into the ECP system. So that somewhere they will get the data. That is a source information. SAP payroll is just a execute. So SAP payroll will get run the payroll once it's receive a data. So I have a data in my mail or Excel or somewhere in my shared folder somewhere. So I need to load the data into the SAP payroll system. For that, what we have used a LSMW, we have used a PF40, and we have used some BDC programs to load the data, because data has to capture in the SAP payroll. Then only we can execute a payroll, we can consider the up-to-date data. So that was a process before your cloud version was implemented. Now, after EC comes, majority of the clients, they maintain all the data in the EC system. So that means EC is your system of records. Now, SAP, what SAP idea is, I have proposed all clients maintain the data in the EC as a system of records. So you maintain all your data in the EC system so that you can review, and employees also can view their data through a cloud process. Now that is fine. Now to execute a payroll, again we need to buy another license for the SAP HCM payroll. So, and once I buy the SAP HCM payroll, to bring the data into the SAP Payroll, because SAP HR system should have a master data. The payroll to payroll, they may maybe have some changes. Right? That information SAP should receive, or else it won't get processed, because you have to update it either through manually or through a LSMW or through any BTC programs, anyway, or any other option you can choose. But SAP should receive that master data. So in such cases, it's a headache for the clients. Like, I have to maintain the data in AEC, and I have to download the data, and I have to upload the data into the SAP payroll engine. Because both are an independent system. There is no integration. Let's assume that ECP is not in the picture. So in that case, what we have to do, we have to download the data from EC and all the information, whatever we received since last cutoff date to till date, and we have to convert it into templates, and we have to load this information into the, no, not CPI. CPI is a different process. That's what CPI, I mean, that's a different concept. So let's assume that we don't have we are not using any middleware at present. This is let's assume that EC was implemented, and I have a SAP HCM payroll engine at present. Okay, in that cases, okay. So what I have to do, I have to download and I have to upload all the information in my SAP payroll. Then only I need to process a payroll. Any questions so far at present? Clear? Samir, Beman?
No questions as of now. I just was this till here you have just covered the basic of it, right?
Yes, yes, basics. Because I didn't touch the ECP yet. I'm just explaining background of the process. I mean, before the ECP.
Just one basic question. Okay? So if somebody has this question is not very related to this topic, but then just for my question I'm asking.
Can you just repeat your question?
Yeah, 1 minute. What I wanted to ask is, if somebody has S/4HANA, okay, and they want to go for this payroll control center. So how different is this payroll control center with EC payroll?
Okay, that I will come to in the next sessions. I mean, next topics.
Sure.
So I will explain all the topics, whatever you have queries. So far we discussed. Let's suppose if you don't have a interface between a EC and SAP payroll, how do we proceed? So this is a process. So the option here is because EC is your system of records, SAP is your payroll engine. So here you have two options. One thing is use a CPI to transfer your data from EC to ECP. If I use the CPI, then I should maintain 3 licenses. One is for the EC, one is for the CPI, one is for the SAP. And this is one problem. Let's think from the budget point of view. So if a client have a EC system and they also have a SAP payroll engine separately. So what they need to do, they have to maintain to maintain the data, they have to use a EC. So that license has to be there. Then to execute a payroll, I should have a SAP payroll. That license also required. To integrate data from EC to ECP, EC to SAP payroll, not EC to SAP payroll, I should have a CPI as a middleware. So this is a third license. And the fourth headache is SAP payroll is a server-based, client server-based data. So that means client should have a separate server internally. Then only they can proceed to, or they can maintain the data. Or else, because it's an on-premise system, right? You should have a server. So that server maintenance cost is also bear with the client. So these are the problems or budget-related queries when we integrate a data from EC to ECP. To avoid this, SAP brings a new concept called ECP, Employee Central Payroll, which is a cloud version of your SAP payroll. Cloud version of your SAP payroll engine. This is a background. Okay, so you will have a SAP payroll engine. Just now we discussed. So that means the functionality, the process, the execution process, everything, whatever we perform in the SAP HCM remains the same. This remains the same. So you have to implement, if you want to implement your EC payroll. So that means how we perform in the SAP HCM payroll. In the same way, we have to start from the scratch. Like you have to create a company code, personal area, everything you have to create. The only thing is this box, I mean, the payroll engine box kept into the cloud version. Okay, that means for HCM, so far how we log in with using a SAP GUI. This cloud version, you can log in with using a URL base. That means I am keeping your SAP HCM on-premise box into the cloud. So that means you can log in with using a URL. That as a SAP, I will provide a URL. So you can log in into your SAP HCM through a URL and you can start your configuration. Okay, so that means any activities or all activities or which we perform in the SAP HCM system remains the same, like a PA20, PA30, SP or company code creations, personal area creations, waste types, payroll execution, everything remains the same. The only thing here is you will have two options, whether you want to log in into the SAP HCM, ECP system through SAP GUI or SAP URL. So you will have two options. You can log in to your system through URL, or you can log into your system with using a SAP GUI access. You will get two options. So why we need a SAP GUI access, that I will explain a bit later. Okay. So this is my SAP HCM box, and this they kept into the cloud version. Okay. Now with this, what is the benefits, and with this, what is the purpose of bringing this? As we discussed earlier, if I go with the SAP payroll engine as an on-premise, in that case, I have to use a EC, I have to use I have to use a middleware as a CPI, and I have to use a server internally or client-specific server. So, which is 4 types of budget-related queries or budget-related from the client. Now with this EC, so you already have a EC license. Okay, through EC license, and you are maintaining a data in a EC system. So through P2P replication, point-to-point replication, the data will transfer from EC to ECP through replication process. That means you no need to download the data, you no need to maintain the middleware, because this is a API process, application program interface. That means EC data, whatever we maintain the data, that entire data stored in the backend, that is calling as a API server. So this API server will have all the information related to your company ID. So each and every client, each and every landscape, like a development, quality test system, quality and production system, each and every instance, EC instance, will have a separate company ID. Company ID like the same as a company code. Okay, company ID. So that company ID, which is given by the SAP. So that company ID will have a that company ID. No, that will come. That will come later. I will explain that one as well. Okay. So with this EC, okay, EC, you will have a your data linked with your API server, which is a backend. So any data you maintain on the data, that data stored automatically in the API server, same like your cluster in the SAP HCM system. Okay. Now I have this license. I need to buy a license of ECP. Earlier we discussed SAP, right? Instead of buying a SAP, I can buy the ECP. ECP is the advanced version of your payroll engine. So the process, the functionality remains same as your SAP HCM. The only thing here is, like till implementation stage, your ECP engine, ECP and your SAP remains the same. So where is the problem? Actually, the maintenance is a problem. If I use a SAP payroll to maintain the data, first I need to maintain the data in a EC. Then I need to transfer the data from EC to SAP payroll engine with using a middleware. This is a one maintenance problem. And I need to maintain a server for myself, for my client related to HR, finance, anything. So this is a other problem, which is a cost related. So these two are the problems which if you have a EC and SAP payroll as an engine. Now with this SAP, so if you buy the license of ECP, what will happen? You no need to use any middleware. First thing. So first advantage is you no need to maintain the EC. You don't need to maintain any middleware in the between EC to ECP. The data will transfer with using a URL or API server. Here entire data stored in the backend that is calling as a API URL. When you replicate a data in an ECP system, we use this API URL. With this URL, with the company ID, the data will flow from this system to this system automatically. And that is process called as a P2P. Okay, so that means no middleware is required because this is a standard functionality given by the SAP for ECP. That means if you have a on-premise system, you should use a FCPI. If you have a cloud version, no need to buy any middleware for EC and ECP. You can transfer the data directly with using a API application server URL with using a point-to-point configuration, P2P configuration. So that why we need to give the point-to-point replication? Because EC is your system of records. Here you are not maintaining. This is a system of records and this is your payroll engine. So this reads the data only from this place. It won't have a reading capability to read from EC. So that's the reason I'm bringing data from EC. I mean, I'm allowing employees to maintain employees or HR, whoever is maintaining the data in EC. Okay, then ECP license cost each employee or only admins like a SAP HCM. No, SAP ECP allowed only the ECP access is allowed only for the payroll admin. There is no possible, there is no there is no requirement to log in employees into the ECP system. I will come all these questions. I will explain you all this so that you will conclude where exactly employee logins and where exactly who logins into the ECP system. I will cover all this. Okay. So this is my system of records. Either HR, payroll admin, employee, whoever is there based on their access, they maintain the data in the EC system. Now, this is my payroll engine, which is a backend system for my payroll engine. So this required a master data. They maintain data here. They both are independent, not a dependent not the interlink softwares. So this is separate tool and this is separate tool. So this also required a master data because I want to see the employee basic pay. I want to read employee basic pay. So this payroll engine should have a data in SAP HCM system or an ECP payroll system, not in a EC. EC have a data. How should I get this data? Because this is a separate box and this is separate box. For that reason, first I am replicating. First I am transferring a data from EC to ECP. So that means employee salary was 10,000 till August. Now in September, the salary has been changed to 15,000. What I need to do with this replication program, the system will read that employee's master data and it will transfer the master data from ECP. So that means we no need to use any CPI, we no need to use any LSMW, we no need to use any PDC. So because you are allowing employees all, in EC you will have a employees login as well. Per login, employee skill login, payroll admin login, and HRBP team will also login into the ECP system. Based on their access level, they can maintain the data directly in the EC system. So that means this is my data. This is my master data. So this master data, here I don't have a calculation capability. So I'm transferring this data through API from EC to ECP. And this is my P2P configuration. Through P2P configuration, I'm transferring data from this ECP. So that means to execute my payroll based on my master data, I'm transferring data from this place to this place. Any questions so far till this stage? Is it clear? do we have a 1 second? Do we have a segregation of data that maintained in a ECP and what data need to be replicated? Yes. So that we will configure in the P2P. So that means what information you want to transfer. Some basic information like employees' personal information, job information, compensation. So there are some mandatory information which we need to transfer. So you should have an employee status. You should have a employees compensation details. You should have a recurring payments deductions, one-time payments. So these are the mandatory. So while replicating, you have to select these as a predefined. That means you should select that these mandatory information should replicate from EC to ECP. If data not maintained for the employee, it will ignore. But the interface should be built that please read the employee's job information. Job information is nothing but employee status, employees compensation, employees pay structure, employees pay structure, employees work schedule, and employees employment type, employee group and subgroup. These information should read from EC and it should transfer from ECP. So and address information, compensation. These are the mandatory because whatever data impacted on the payroll. So that entire information should transfer from EC to ECP. We cannot avoid on an employee-to-employee basis. We cannot avoid, we cannot skip that or read only the basic pay for one employee. Read only the address information for one employee. So if employee data maintained in a EC, it will replicate. You want to restrict in a EC itself. That means I don't want to maintain a basic pay for one employee. Restrict in a EC itself. If you restrict, the data will not transfer. But the integration should be built between EC to ECP based on the mandate information for ECP. Is it clear, Vaiman? Okay. So once it's statutory details, I will come to all the queries, whatever. Okay. Then the next, once we replicate the data, this is a P2P. Okay. So here I have all the payroll related queries. All the payroll related information. Now, how do we execute a payroll? Because this have a full information. How do we execute the data from EC to ECP? Okay. This data has been replicated into ECP. Now I need to execute a payroll. I have all the information stored in this place. Okay. So I already have a configuration like a waste types. Waste types I need to configure company code, personal area, sub area, and address information. Everything should be configured or implemented in this place. Once your implementation is completed through P2P, with using an API application performance program interface, so we can replicate the data. Let's suppose if employee company ID or company name in this place is ABC, that ABC should pick up 1, 2, 3 or ABC in a ECP system. So that integration, that mapping will be done through P2P. So SAP has already given some standard data models. So with using that data models, we can transfer, let's suppose company data. So they have given a data model as a company ID. So with selecting a company ID, if you use ABC is equal to 1, 2, 3 or ABC is equal to ABC, in that case, if employee data maintained under ABC, this P2P, this replication program, read the data, and through this P2P configuration, the data will go and stored into the ECP system as ABC is equal to ABC. ABC is equal to 1, 2, 3. And pay component. Pay component is nothing but waste type in a ECP. Pay components is a terminology of EC, and waste type is a terminology of ECP. Same like your SAP. Okay. So what we'll do, I have a 1, 2, 3 waste type. That 1, 2, 3 waste type is equivalent to XYZ waste type. So that XYZ setup will be done here in this place, P2P. So that means no. This P2P, that's what. P2P is a standard process which is an activity from the functional resource. So you have to use a this P2P, what I can say, we have to use a standard data models, which SAP has already delivered some standard data models with selecting that data models. Example, I want to transfer pay component, that is wasted. So I have to select the data model related to pay component. This is a one data model. With selecting that, I have a two options. Now two fields. One table is from the data reading from EC. Another table is from the ECP. So we need to select that EC field value as a XY 1, 2, 3 from EC, and I need to mention which waste type it should store. So that in that ERP or ECP field, I have to mention that go to ABC. So this mapping has to be done from the functional resources, and it's not there is no intervention of or involvement of ABAP with this P2P. P2P is a purely standard functional resource activity, and it's not, and there is no technical knowledge is also not required. It's a purely functional, same like how we use a drop down and select a 1, 2, 3, right? In the same way, so we have to select the available data models and we have to map it. 1 is equal to A, 2 is equal to B, like that. So this concept is remains same for all your P2P configurations. So that mapping, yes.
This P2P replication is the same as what we do in the CPI type, or how it is different?
Okay. So CPI, there is a slight difference. CPI, what you do in a CPI, we have to give a information to the CPI consultant stating that this LGRT. So LGRT is my technical field of waste type, and waste pay component technical field from a EC. So these two should get mapped. So this information you have to give to the CPA consultant. That means LGRTA is equivalent to my waste type. So this is my technical field. So
sorry, my question was not that. Sorry, my bad. I missed told that CPI means what we have EC, and then for example we have S4HANA or any ECC system. So for the replication, we use the business integration builder. Okay. So
yes,
this the P2P is also same, or it is different?
That's what. P2P as a CPI, BIB both are same, similar to the process. Okay. BIB or business interface build is in there. We can use based on the some what I can say technical field mapping. Technical field mapping which we have to do with using a ABAP help. But in this P2P, it's a standard. The data models given by the SAP. That means if you want to map, employees, what I can say, employees pay component or a waste type. So you have to select the data model as a pay component. This is a one data model. With selecting a data model, you have to select EC value and ECP value. Okay. So EC, my code value is 1, 2, 3. ECP, my code value is ABC. It may be 1, 2, 3. So that you can directly do the mapping. So how system will read this information with using your data models. That data models are calling from this API replication. This program.
So we, for example, in EC we create a pay component, and then in ECP we create a wage type. So we just need to map them like that.
Exactly.
Correct? Okay.
Yes. So we once you map, then based on this data maintained in the EC, that will be replicated from EC to ECP. Okay. So example, I have maintained for one employee ABC as a pay component. Okay. The value is 10,000. So when your data replicated from EC to ECP, system will read that the replication program or the API server read the data from EC stating that this ABC maintained for XYZ employee, the value is 10,000. For date is XYZ date. So the replication program through this P2P, first this program read the data ABC maintained, value is 10,000, date is 12th September 2021. So this is falling under between my date range. Then it will check the P2P. So is there any mapping done for the ABC? Yes, mapping done for the ABC is equivalent to 1 to 3 of ECP. So it will go and call the ECP wasted, that is 1 to 3. And the date it will select that in whether it is info type 14 or 15 or info type 8. So it will select the date, whatever date we maintain in a EC. That date will automatically stored in the, the date will pick up automatically in the ECP. Then it will select the waste type as a 1, 2, 3, and it will maintain a value as 10,000. And related to your question, Veman, the tables are not same for the CPI. Okay, so there are replication tables are the same, but so the replication tables are same, but in P2P they would provide standard too. Yes, the tables are standard. You no need to create a custom tables. Tables are standard. Through standard table only we do the replication from EC to ECP. Clear? Okay. So at present we have a data in a ECP system. Now I need to execute a payroll. So for executing a payroll, we are not giving access to, we are not allowing this payroll admin to execute a payroll in the ECP system. For that, we are using a payroll control center. So you will have a payroll engine, everything, but you are not executing in this place. To execute that data into ECP, they bring a new concept called payroll control center. So in this payroll control center, you will have a button here, but the execution will be done here. Same like a job run. So you are executing a job one place and you are seeing a results in somewhere. In the same way, you have a button here. You have a button here, and with this button, so when you press a execution simulation, so execution payroll run, execution the posting run. So this will have a button, and that will call the program from this place. Call the program from this place, and you are executing this place, and the results will be stored in this place. So that means instead of executing in a ECP, you are executing under EC, that is payroll control center. So this place we are executing a payroll. This place we are executing a payroll. But where the execution, actual execution happening? This place. The button is here, but execution happening here. Here you will not see any reason. You can see only basic information like how many employees selected, how many employees got rejected, which payroll area, and what are the alerts is triggered. That information will be visible here. If you want to see the full-fledged results, it's like a schema error, payroll PCR error, or waste step values, waste step full depth values of full details of the waste steps executed for a particular employee. No. That's what. See, initially what I said, you have to do the configuration, everything in a ECP, like a PCR, schemas, everything you have to configure in the ECP system. So once you configure all the PCR, schemas, company code, personal area, sub area, everything once you completed, then only the replication will comes into picture. Because this ECP indirectly say that ECP is for the data replication from EC to ECP. So once I implement the data, I need the data. Once implement this ECP, I need the data. I need the master data to complete my payroll. For that reason, don't use any BDEC. Don't use an LSMW. Use a P2P or use a replication process. The data will flow from EC to ECP. It won't take much time also. Hardly, let's say an example of 600 employees data you want to replicate. So if you want to replicate 600 employees with using LSMW, everything, you have to prepare a templates and you have to load the data. With this P2P, hardly 15 minutes it will take. The entire data will replicate from EC to EC, including employee hiring also. Hiring employee here with replication process. First you will hire an employee, then it will hiring and transferring. and employees personal data maintenance, address maintenance, pay component maintenance, waste state maintenance, work schedule, everything you can do this P2P replication, and within a fraction, within very short time, maybe 15 minutes or 20 minutes for 600 employees. So it's very faster process with this data replication process. Okay, that's the reason they bring this into the concept. So that means this replication will comes into picture once you're ready with your ECP. Once your ECP implementation is ready, then only you can replicate data from ECPs. Otherwise, it won't replicate. So you should have all the information, because you are doing a mapping, right? You are saying that ABC is equal to 1, 2, 3. That 1, 2, 3 should already created in the ECP system. Otherwise, system doesn't know that. I don't see the way 1, 2, 3, because 1, 2, 3 is a data of or configuration value of your ECP, not EC. Okay, so you should have a 1, 2, 3 created. The 1, 2, 3 waste step should be created in the EC system. Then to get the data, to get the master data, for that we have to use a P2P or data replication. Once we replicate the data, yeah, is it clear, Viman? Sami?
Yeah, clear.
Okay. So once we get all the information, then through the this programming process, yes. Tax related, I will come to that part as well. Tax and started information, I will come. I will tell you all the information. Okay. So this data, once we ready all the information, then you are executing a payroll in this place. But the execution will be done, but a result stored in the ECP backend system. And this is your, this is your payroll control center. Okay. What is the benefit of executing payroll control center in the EC? The benefits here is, so in the payroll control center, before executing a payroll, the users do a lot of manual reconciliations. They do the address validations, they do the bank validations, so they do all the payroll related queries, payroll related validations, results, everything. Yes. Can I access ECP from EC? No, we can't access, but we can call it to maintain the master data, to maintain the statutory information master data. For that purpose, you can log into the you can call the ECP system from EC. You cannot log in, but you can call the ECP system. You can call the ECP system through the EC system. Okay, because this one also, you're calling ECP system through the interface. You're calling through the standard process. Yes, like providing a URL. Okay, like provide in EC, we have to maintain a SAP ECP URL, so that ECP can read this ECP URL. EC can read the ECP URL, and when you are executing a payroll control center, it's read all the information. And at the same time, through this URL, the URL ECP URL is a base for executing your payroll control center. These two are integrated through the URL only. While replicating data from EC to ECP, we have to maintain EC URL or ECP API related URL in the ECP system. Yes, the URLs are client specific, because you will have a one client ID, I will have a one client ID. Based on that client ID, SAP provides the ID. SAP provides your client specific URL, and that is land space specific URL. For development, one URL, quality, one URL, production, one URL. So that URL, based on that URL, you have to call whether you want to call a ECP dev, quality, production. So that URL differs based on the client to client and landscape to landscape. It's not a fixed. Okay, clear? Now, standard area, see this, the standard area is only for the API purpose. URLs we are not supposed to create anywhere. URLs are provided by the SAP. URLs are Okay. This area where we have to, so that URL we have to maintain in the, so that URL is not a tile actually. So while logging into the EC system, you will have a URL, right? That URL you have to call in the ECP system, and at the same time, for the API purpose, each and every each and every instance, each and every instance will have a separate data center. So while replicating data from EC to ECP, we have to call that data center URL with a company ID. Example, I have a data center related to EMEA. So my client data stored in the data center EMEA, and EMEA having a EME having a company, and my company ID is 123. So I need to call that 123 from EMEA data center. So for EME data center, one standard URL is there. So that URL we need to use, because when you get a license, you can your client will have a communication that your data center is so and so related. So we need to call the data center, and we need to use the data center, that company ID, and we need to use a user ID and password who have a authorization to read the data from EC and to replicate data from ECP. For that, we should have a RBP access from the EC system, so that with using a user ID and password, with using your system instance ID, with using your URL, okay, that API server, API data center URL, you can call the data from EC to ECP. Vice versa, you are transferring data from EC, right? This system, ECP. So EC should have a trusted information. In that case, in a EC, we have to maintain this ECP URL. When you get a license, you will get a URL from the ECP system, from the SAP, stating that this is your URL. So that URL I need to maintain in the EC system, though that these two gets interlinked. Clear? Okay. So moving to the next one. So when users perform the payroll, before that they do lots of validations, lots of reconciliations. Example, I want to see missing employees, missing address, missing employees. I want to see bank details missing. Address missing employees, payroll driver will not pick up. Bank details missing employees, payroll driver will pick up. And some employees I want to see whose gross is more than the higher than last month. Example, I want to find an employees whose gross or net or bank transfer is more than the 10% or 15%, 20%. Maybe I have some percentage, so I can put that percentage, because that is my reconciliation process to process the payroll, not to finalize the payroll. So for that, users spend a lot of time for reconciliation purpose. To avoid that, there is a concept called payroll policies and alerts. Through this, once you do the configuration related to payroll control center, this payroll control center identify that these are the employees whose gross is more than the certain value, the value we have to maintain in a backend. And these are the employees whose net is more than the certain value. These employees bank details is missing. These employees address is missing. These employees are falling under claims. So that validations which we perform part of our payroll, that will be identified by this payroll control center, and it will directly say that these are the employees having a cost center missing. These employees having a address is missing. These employees having a bank details missing. These employees having a address, these employees having a gross is more than the value what we have set in the backend. I have set a value as my organization, or I do the value reconciliation. I want to find whose salary is more than 10%. Net salary difference is 10%. So this payroll alerts, this payroll alerts will identify that this employee having a last month net pay to current month net pay, the value is more than 10%. This employee having a value more than this employee. So validations are standard. SAP has already given some standards. If you want to put some validations for based on your requirement, you can do. Both the ways is possible. Same like your wage steps. So some wage steps you can use standard. Some wage steps you want to create your own. In the same way, it's your choice whether you want to use a standard or whether you want to use a custom. So both ways are possible. Depends on your client requirement. You can set or you can use a you can use the validations based on our requirement, based on the client requirement. So there is no fix actually. So that we can do it based on our requirement. Okay, and then that is the one option. The second option is in a payroll simulation in a SAP HCM or payroll engine to perform your posting simulation without running a payroll in a live mode. You cannot test the payroll simulation. Okay, in a payroll SAP HCM, we are not supposed to, or we cannot run the posting in simulation without running a payroll. But this payroll control center, they have allowed how we perform the payroll simulation in a test mode. In the same way, we can also perform the posting simulation. Posting simulation is also possible without running a live payroll run. So that additional advantage. Okay, and we can do all the master data before running a payroll. So like a master data means address missing, cost center missing, and tax code is missing. That will come. Posting to finance also will come. Okay. So once we go to finance, exactly. Posting to finance simulation. Yes, it is possible. So that's what I'm trying to say. So in general payroll simulation we do, right? In the same way, posting to finance simulation also possible without running a live run. This is an additional advantage of your payroll control center. Okay. Then the next one is once you identify the alerts. Let's say example, some ex-employees address is missing, results is missing, like that. What you can do, you can transfer the alerts to internally. How we assign our tickets internally to other team members, right? In the same way, once alerts is triggered, we can assign the alerts to team members internally. You may have 3 or 2 users. In that case, you can assign the alerts to XYZ. Some women, please take this, or please take care of these alerts. Some way, please take care of these alerts, like that. So you can assign that alerts, because alerts is nothing but a ticketing process. In the same way, you can assign the alerts to the other payroll admin who can access and who can validate and reconcile, and they can resolve it through the payroll control center itself. Okay, and then the next one is you can execute the live payroll run through the payroll control center. So how we perform the payroll control center, payroll and posting simulation, right? Once everything is fine, we can execute the payroll in a live mode through the payroll control center. We no need to log in into the SAP ECP system. Then we can also do the bank transfer. We can also do the posting to finance. So that means start to end, except the reports. You can use SAP payroll control center as a point of contact. One-stop solution for all your payroll related activities. So that means you, with login into EC, under EC, you will have a payroll control center. There, from the payroll control center, you can validate the master data. You can validate the payroll errors. You can validate this posting simulation. You can validate the master data issues. You can execute the live payroll run, posting to finance, bank file transfer. Everything is possible. And that's it. And when we need to log in into the ECP system, we need to log in into the ECP system only for extracting a waste step reporter, because you are executing all this in the payroll control center, but the results will not store in the payroll control center. The results will be stored in the ECP only. So I want to see the waste step reporter. I have to go and log in into the ECP system. I want to transfer the bank file. I want to transfer the e-filing to the government gateway. So that e-filing has to be done from a ECP only. I want to do some custom reports download. For that one also, which we have to log in into the ECP system. So ECP is for the login purpose only for payroll admin who perform the post payroll related activities. Not a till payroll, you don't need to log in. Only for the post payroll related activities, the reports download, executions. For that purpose, we have to log in into the ECP system. Now this is completed. Now who will access this ECP system. ECP system have access only for the payroll admin, not the employees. Employees in general, SAP payroll also we don't give access to the employees. Then how employees can view the payslip? Because you are executing a payroll control center in a EC, but not in a ECP. But payslip, everything will be generated in the ECP only, because ECP is a payroll engine. So what will happen? Through the HR forms, there is a feature called HR form. I think you guys know this HR form. And through HR form or EDTN, if you want to use a smart form or PDF form, HR form. If you want to use a PE51 form, then use a EDTN. With using these features, and there is an additional configuration which we need to do in the SOA manager, okay, and in the provisioning system. Through these two setups, employees can view their payslip directly in the EC system, not in a EC, because EC they already have access, and with this ECP we are allowing them to see the payslip based on their SSO login, based on their ID login. So that will help the employees to see their payslip, their relevant month. Okay, that is a additional feature that you don't need to have a ESS and MSS to view their payslip, because EC already have all the ESS MSS functionalities. The only thing is payslip is missing if you are having a ECP into picture. Okay, so employees, at present employees can able to see the EC system. They can log into the system, they can view their payslips, sorry, they can view their salaries, they can view their benefits and deductions recurring and everything. Okay, and they can see that they can update their time records as well. Now, after completing all this, the end of the story is they should view their payslip for the relevant month. Okay, that payslip, as we discussed, payroll control center is an execution button available in the EC system, but the entire result stored in the backend, that is ECP system, this place. Okay, so that means the payslip is also generated in this place based on your configuration. The payslip configuration also done in the ECP system. Like a same whatever the functionality which we perform in the SAP payroll engine, everything has to be done in the ECP only. So employee's payroll executed and payslip is also generated, but employee want to see his payslip in a EC, because I don't want to allow employees to log into the ECP system. Because EC is a system of records, they have to log into this EC system and they have to see their payslip only, not the others. For that purpose, we have to do some configuration in the provisioning system and SAML2 configuration, SAML2, that's calling as a SAML2, nothing but a SSO login. So based on their employee ID, and that employee ID linked with your ECP payroll ID, so that employees can view their payslip based on their payroll execution. Okay, so example, I have completed my August payroll. XYZ employee can see only XYZ payslip, not the others. Okay, XYZ see only their payslip. So payslips, it's your standard. It's not a standard format. We can use the standard layouts. So standard payslips, how it is visible available in the ECP system, that's immense. So we can copy that and we can do modifications based on our requirement. Okay, but the visibility in a EC system is a standard process with using some standard configuration. Clear? Okay, so moving to the next one. So EC payroll, just now we discussed for what purpose we need to log in. Custom reports submitted to government gateway, download the DMA file and share with the bank, like this. Okay, only for this purpose we have to log in into the ECP system. And this is an integration process. Okay, EC is a system of, so far we discussed, but just to give a just overview. Okay, EC is a system of records, and everyone, whoever is have an access in the EC system, they maintain all the data in the ECP system. Master data replicate from EC to ECP through the integration. That is a standard process. Okay, and EC is a server maintenance by the SAP, the ECP. So no, PCC is a part of your ECP license. PCC is a part of SAP license. Sorry, ECP license. Okay, Next, work schedules, we can transfer work schedules and timesheet. Timesheet has nothing but specifically for the ECP, where employees submit their overtime or any other timesheet, and they want to convert that timesheet into the payment. So that feasibility is also there through this ECP. And there is no middleware required. There is no server maintenance required. And generally, when you get a SAP on-premise system, so we will get, I mean, first the system will go to the SAP basis. So that basis team will perform all the activities and initial setup, like a transport movement and everything across the landscape. And then they will hand over to the functional team. For this, it will take 1 or 2 days generally. Okay, but in this place, there is no basis team involvement. As soon as you get the license, you can start working immediately. There is no, the only thing is the SAP, they will give a initial credentials. That credentials is allowed only to create a user IDs on your own, because you are not, we are not supposed to use that credentials to configuration, because it's our configuration. So our user ID should be on our customer. So once we create the user IDs and once we assign the relevant roles, we can start working on it. So that means there is no basis person involvement, which is a cost reduction for the client. And there is no security person as well. If you are only for the assigning a roles. So if you know some basic knowledge, then that's enough. So you don't need to do any additional, you don't need any security person, no need a basis consultant, which is a additional benefit to the customers. And there is no server maintenance consultants as well. Okay, and there is a related to your question, how we transfer the legal information. As we discussed from the starting, EC is a system of records for PA and OM. There is no legal info types information like a tax. I have a knowledge on the UK, so I'm just explaining on the UK terminology. Tax, NIC, statutory forms, and court orders, or like garnishments. Okay, so these information, you don't have any portlets in a EC system, because these portlets or these statutory information are changing country to country. So that's the reason SAP brings a new concept called UI mashups. This one, UI mashups. Okay, what is the concept of UI mashups? Okay, UI mashups is nothing but, I want to maintain a tax for an employee. For UK, the tax code is 65. So what I need to do, I have to go into the EC system, and there is a UI mashups screen. There, I have to go and click on the tax. Based on my country specific configuration, the EC system, country specific assignment, not a configuration, country specific activation. Only activation will be done in the EC system. Once I do the activation, so the relevant info types, the relevant information will be visible, default portlets will be visible in the EC system. Okay, like example, UK 65 the tax, 69 is for the NIC, and court order 70. These information will be present in front of us in the EC system. So if employee number in an EC and employee number in an ECP are in a sync, both are in a sync, then when you click on the tax code data or tax details or national insurance data, relevant info type, statutory info type, the system, yes, not in an employee profile. So that's a different concept. This statutory information is allowed only for the payroll admin, because statutory information won't maintained by the employee. So that's the reason it is not part of the employee's profile. It's a separate concept, but there is a portlet called payroll information. Under that portlet information, if you click on that, you will have a country specific info types, country specific statutory info types. So once you click on this, from which employee data you are clicking on the, from which employee EC data you are clicking on that info type, the relevant info type, the relevant employee data, the relevant employee data, relevant employee info type will be open in the EC system. That means you, even though you are maintaining a data in an EC system, that data will be, that modification screen will be present in an EC system. So once we save the data, that data will automatically update in the ECP, same like a ESS. For employee updated leaves, the later leaves will automatically update in the ECP system, in the SAP system, right, through the NetViewer configuration. Here, no configuration is required. It's a standard. So because you already replicated or you already integrated the EC to ECP through these interfaces, right? As soon as you maintain the UI mashups data, I mean the legal information in the EC system, the data will automatically update in the ECP. And at the same time, if I maintain the data in a ECP manually, the same will be stored in the ECP, I mean EC system. So vice versa is possible, and it's the same like how we maintain in the info types. So why they bring this UI mashups? Country specific configuration is different. So that's the reason EC is not a country specific configuration. So but ECP is a country specific configuration. Yes, we can do all like our forms. Okay, so this process, it will be visible from EC to ECP, okay, and ECP to EC, both ways is possible. And there is a one more concept called declustering of payroll results. In a EC, they have a tables and they store in a different tables. Okay, the results will be stored in the cluster tables. Cluster table format is not a cloud version, but in the ECP, in the EC under payroll control center, I want to see the results, which is a HTML format, or the UI is different. For that purpose, we have to use a declustering process. Declustering means your cluster you're directing into different format based on the cloud version, which we need to do some 4 steps in a standard table, so that the tables will be converted into the ECP EC format. I mean that will be done in a backend. Nothing will be visible in the front end. The only thing is we have to go and activate the country, and we have to select which payroll results like RT, CRT, NIC, RT. Yes, transform template tables. Nothing we do manually. We just need to select the tables, so that the tables will be automatically convert into the ECP UI format. Okay, and when you, as we discussed, no basis involvement, right? So once we get the license, the transport movement between a EC to ECP, between across the landscapes, ECP dev to ECP test, ECP test to ECP production is remains. It's a default, and the transport build is already there. So once we get the license, through the license, the transport settings between the development to test system, test to production system for our clients is inbuilt. Okay, we no need to do any additional setup for the transport. Okay, this is how the okay, so that will be communicated through the training institute. So they will communicate with you the details. Okay, the regular classes timings. Please advise your timings so that we will check and come back to you.
Yeah, I have one question.
Yes.
So, for example, now the customer has other modules also, like MM and FICO and some other things. Okay.
Yes.
So in scenario now in MM, for example, there is a release strategy for their for it. They require the org structure, everything from HR. So if we do not have the HCM component implemented and we just have the EC payroll and EC, in that scenario, how it will be?
Okay, so you can replicate organization structure from EC to ECP, not only payroll related. You can also replicate your organization jobs, positions, everything. So structure also you can replicate. For that also, you should have a configuration in the EC as well as in ECP.
Okay, so for that, then in the ECC or the S4 HANA system, you again have to work with the business integration builder to replicate mini master there, correct?
Why? See, mini master data, it's also part of your P2P. You will have an option to replicate. You also have an option to replicate data from EC to ECP, the organization structure, jobs, positions like that. So mini master data is nothing but that one, right?
No, I understand that. See, what I'm trying to tell you is
Hmm.
if we go for ECP, the system for payroll will be on cloud. There is a separate client there. So
Hmm.
what about other modules like MM, FICO, and any other logistic module where those
Yeah,
will
for
be?
other module, yes. For other module, yes, you should have a separate integration.
That is what that is.
Yeah.
Okay.
So ECP main intention here is you should have a, I mean, main intention is for the payroll engine. Okay. So if you have other modules like MM modules, MM and other modules have a data and they want this structure. Okay. So here you have two options. Either you can directly integrate from EC to EC to MM or other modules, or from ECP to other modules.
Okay. Got it.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. So moving to this, this is about related to your SCP training. So what I will cover part of the training. Okay. Whatever the topics which I have covered, that entire topics I will cover, except the payroll configuration, which is a HCM configuration, like a company code, personal area, sub area, because that is not the scope of the ECP. So that will, except that. So what is the integration? How do we set up in a EC system? How do we set up the payroll control center? How do we execute a payroll in the payroll control center? And how do we see the payslip in a EC system? So these are all I will be cover except the SAP
Will
configuration.
you also cover the rules that are part of the payroll control center?
Which rules? PCC, sorry,
Yeah,
uh,
ECP rules are
ECM,
there. No?
PCR and schemas.
No. I'm not talking about PCR and schemas.
Huh?
In the piece, I remember in the S4 HANA or the ECC version, there used to be some rules. Or
That is right.
yeah.
EC rules, right?
Yes.
No, EC
No,
rules is not part of. Huh?
no. I'm not talking about EC rules. See,
Huh?
in PCC, I've seen PCC, okay, but I have
Huh?
seen PCC part of the on-premise system, okay. So in
Okay.
that, there were some rules, like for example, you have covered like this missing bank detail. This is a standard
That
thing.
payroll control
Uh,
center alerts, right?
uh, uh.
Hmm.
So there
Alerts
might
trigger.
be
Yes.
no. Listen. Just listen to my question. See, what you are given is a very standard thing, like missing bank detail, missing address detail, all that thing. Now,
Hmm.
customer might have some demand where there is little bit complicated thing, which is not PCR, okay,
Okay.
but some threshold, like for example, they want to see the gross pay of prior month and the current month should not cross some X limit, something like that.
Hmm. Hmm.
So that possible, I
I will
believe.
that
Uh,
I will cover because
okay,
see,
okay.
100 clients will have 100 requirements. So I will
Hmm.
explain that general scenarios. So these bank details I'm just giving. If you see in the below, gross to net variance. So this variance which you are discussing. So last month you have 100 pounds. Now this month it is a 150 pounds. So the
Hmm.
difference is 50 pounds. So that type of alerts also I will cover.
Okay.
Okay. So some employees have a retro more than a 60 days. I set a condition as a 60 day whose retro is more than 60 days. Just find that employee. Okay. So that will I will also cover that point. Okay.
Okay.
And
Fine.
so apart from that, the ECP don't have any demo system given by the SAP because it is interlinked with a license. So that's the reason SAP didn't provide any demo system for the ECP.
Okay.
So what I will provide part of this training, the topics whatever I cover, and the EC practice link. So EC whatever the configuration we do. So that I have a EC practice link. I will give that EC practice link. And for the ECP, wherever the configuration is required, I have a demo. I have a separate system which is a SAP HCM system. So I will cover that. This only the login will be SAP GUI. So, but I will cover all the points. And wherever I can't see, I can present the system. In that case, I can show the screenshots. This is how the step by step. This is how the screen looks like, and this is what the activities which we need to do. Because ECP don't have any demo system. Clear?
Yeah, clear.
So this is our ECP demo. You can just get in touch with the institute. They will communicate with the details. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
May I know your comfort time for joining?
My time would be, if I ever join ever, it would be a weekend only, because in the weekday working days not possible.
Okay. Okay. Sure. Okay. Sure. Okay. Thank you. Bye.